It's Edge Radio Australia. Malloy with you for the Genius Zone. Now, it's not my Genius Zone. I can't take ownership of this one. We have a young lady here who's feeling the genius. I can see it. I can sense it in her. Okay, you don't even have to look at me. I can sense it from here. This amazing level of, I don't know, it's the tractor beam of genius that's going out. Now, how much rubbish can I speak in one sentence? I'm not sure.
I was going to say, young lady, thank you very much.
There you go. Hey, well, why not? Well, we're working hard. You got to throw the compliments out there. Terri, lovely to have you here. Will not shoot the messenger today. I'm very, very happy to see you. I don't even know what we're going to do today because it's been a bit crazy. Things are going on behind the scenes. We've had to deal with the shaved monkey, which always it mixes my day. It messes my day. Puts me on the back foot.
The sick shave monkey.
Yeah, oh my word! Didn't he look just fabulous? Yeah, tongue in cheek on that one. All right, now we are on the socials, and we'll wait obviously till people jump on board that one because we've just freshly hit the button. But let's jump into the show. If you are out there and you've got any comments, please make them. Yeah, obviously you can listen on edgeradioaustralia.com or you can listen right now on social media, little outlets everywhere. Mm-hmm. So let's grab that mic, drag it a little closer to you. And let's get into the show. Terri.
Hello, Aaron Malloy.
Yes, hello, Terri Messenger. There we go. We've started officially. What's on today's show?
Well, firstly, the Genius Zone. It's not my Genius Zone. Just saying, right? You know where the name Genius Zone came from?
No, I don't.
It was about the people that I was interviewing.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So they're the genius.
Yeah.
So all this time I've been claiming you as a genius. Look at that. I don't know. I'm telling people got this genius who started working at Edge Radio Australia. You know, how good's that? And no, I'm being cheated.
You know that song, you've been telling me you're a genius since you were 17 and all this time I still don't know what you mean.
That's bang on for this one. Absolutely perfect. All right. Well, no, look, I love that. And look, we are joking about this. This is a great way of finding the genius in everybody, right? Okay. Yep. So with that, let's jump into today's show. What are we going to talk about?
Well, Aaron, I was thinking that we ought to go back a couple of weeks here because it was a really powerful show and it really correlates with what I was talking about with the Genius Zone because you were talking about your absolute nightmare situation that you've gone through, dragged through the mud. You've lost your kids. You're obviously a loving father and, the fact is this has become your Genius Zone.
Well, yeah, you've got to, like I keep saying, you've got to turn negatives into positives, right? This is the way you can never make them disappear, but you can kind of neutralize them and,
yes.
But if you're feeling pain, I think a great way of getting rid of pain is to find, a purpose, something that actually look, it feeds the community, right? Yeah. And then what happens is you find that you kind of, you're surrounded by really wonderful people. So you put out that kind of vibe. It helps you through a really tough time. I suppose that's where I'm going on that one.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the time before people discover their genius, they're very angry.
Right.
And they boil and brood with this. But the sad part about it is that the more we focus on it, it's not about that specific situation that actually causes so much anger, frustration and injustice.
Yep.
But it's the fact that we keep attracting other crappy kind of things. So what happens is one day, just like a fairy tale story.
Right. Once upon a time.
Yeah. See, there's always a superhero in every story, right?
Is there really? Okay.
Well, there's supposed to be. And there's no superhero in Rainbows and Butterflies.
No, there is not.
So this is the whole point. So when you are getting this superhero that's going through this incredible, terrible situation, then boom, they have this breakthrough.
Yes.
And in that moment, everything changes.
I thoroughly agree.
And so what happens is they still remain in their power. They still know what they are passionate about.
Sure.
They still stand for everything, but here's the difference.
Okay.
They become more powerful.
Ooh, again, 100% agree. Like when you step past that pain, right? When you kind of release yourself from it, and again, you can never get rid of it. I mean, I would never lie and say you can get rid of it, but when you kind of allow yourself to be part of the world again, right? You're not being chained down by it.
Yeah.
And again, what happens is then you do bring wonderful people into your life. It's a seismic change. Now, when you are in that dark place, what I find happens is you attract that darkness, whether you like it or not. And like in my case, I don't want to say this and be disingenuous, right? But okay, like when I was dealing with a lot of parents who had lost their kids through very, very similar sort of situations to me, a lot of lies, a lot of, well, quite frankly, what is domestic violence of destroying people's lives for power and profit, right? Now, when you do that, you want to give that person, love and encouragement and try and help them through it. But at the same time, sometimes that drags a lot of that negativity into your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of I don't know, as men, okay, I can speak as a man because I've been one for a while now.
Must be at least a century. I mean, I'm joking.
Half a century.
Half a century.
We'll go with that. Okay, we'll go with that. That's more honest. But like we tend to put things in boxes, right? So like, okay, there's a bit of a joke about that that men and women are wired very differently. Sort of women can jump around from different
Men
ideas.
can read maps and women can't.
We'll go with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Absolutely, right? But when we've got something, when it's not serving us anymore or it's causing us pain or whatever, pop that in the box, okay? And then move into the next one. So it enables you to pop that pain in there and move forward. We're good at putting things in little compartments like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say what box exactly. And that's what we call a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So because that thing you were talking about, you put in a box. Guess where that box is? I don't know whether you know, but you said it, right? It's your claim to fame in your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. But I mean, I don't know where to go on that because it's such a complicated thing. Because I don't want to ever, when people are going through really rough times, you don't want to diminish that, right?
No.
Okay. But
no, you can't do that.
But I do at the same time want people to actually rise up and rise above it, right? Because it starts becoming your story and that pain will drag you down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You know what? Make the box out of cardboard. All right. And maybe one day just set fire to that box. Let it go.
I like that.
Right? Yeah.
That was very NLP.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Because that's actually what I actually get clients to do.
Really?
Maybe not that exact thing.
Okay.
But it's about facing up to it. It's about saying, well, there's the pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on. Embracing it, stepping into it, and then releasing it.
Okay. So if I came to you, and we're talking about NLP here, right? And I've got this, box full of tricks, which are pretty awful tricks, right? Want them to go.
No, not the hat. Sorry, not the hat.
The hat stays.
That's a good one.
There's all sorts of things hidden under there.
Yeah.
No, but I want to get rid of this pain, or I want to find a way to remap my life moving forward. Can you give me some sort of tools there? So give me a bit of a pathway.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I had someone, for example, come to see me yesterday, and it was a big thing for him because he had to deal with something that is really embarrassing.
Okay.
And it's not only that it's an embarrassment, which most people have got something that they're hiding.
Oh, look, once I voted for Labor. I mean, I'm embarrassed for life. Yeah, it happened. I'm still in therapy.
Wow, I'm shocked. You ought to have been. I agree. That would be very embarrassing.
Sorry, not to belittle, having some fun. Go on.
That's right. You got to. It's radio. So really, this is about being able to. There's no judgment. Like no matter, we are all imperfect. So the whole point of it is that when a person firstly understands they are not their parts, they are not their emotions, they are not their behaviors, they are their identity. Okay. So when they pull that out and they look at it, and it's interesting because I didn't need to know what he was dealing with, but I know it was pretty deep and dark and embarrassing.
Okay.
And I said to him, well, what I want you to do is kind of like look at it up on the screen. So you're kind of objective.
Right.
And it was really hard for him to look at it that way because, like suddenly he had to face it. So long story short, the fact is that the first thing you've got to do is embrace it. You can't run away from it. So it is what it is.
Yep.
And that's a fact of life. So just grin and bear it, really embrace it, embody it. Then when you let it go, when you let the emotion go, when you let the pain go, when you're prepared to,
Right.
you have to get the learnings first, of course, right? You can't
Oh.
just you just bail without knowing that. So once that happens, then we move into the big, like when the rubber hits the road. Not trying to, no puns intended with all your car racing and stuff. But, it's where, like what you just said before, burn it.
Yep.
Burn it, release it, get rid of it. So we've got certain techniques and there's a whole range of them. So what happens then? So where to now? Well, that was your question to me, was it? Was that
really
the question?
yeah.
So the question is that if you've got an empty space, like if you took everything out of this room, you'd have to fill it up again.
Yeah, true.
You wouldn't just leave it as an empty room. So otherwise it'd just be an empty space. Like where would you sit? What would you use as, your feature to camera, to do radio, all the things? You'd have to obviously replace it.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
Okay.
And I always say to people, getting rid of stuff is the easiest part for me. I can do that in my sleep.
Okay.
That is 101 my stuff. But the hardest part is actually what you're talking about. What do you do to actually recreate? Because that is really up to you. So now that you've been through all the things you've been through, you've lost your kids, you've been, really unfairly dealt some pretty bad cards. Yeah. And we've heard, the horrendous story. And for the life of me, I can't even imagine like your poor kids and what they're deprived of, let alone you.
Yeah.
Right? And so yet, still trying to get the head around that. And so where do you go forward to now? Well, it's like, how do you make this for the greater good of humanity?
Well, everybody's different. And I think you've got to grab your gifts or, the tools you're given. Actually, the tools aren't really the point, because if you're going to go forward and do something, you're going to learn the right tools. You're going to go get the right tools, so to speak. So, educate yourself, I guess, in the way you're going to move forward. But we've all got a gift, right? Whether it be you might be great at woodwork, you might be great at I don't know, it could be a million things. Could be a sport,
singing, radio talking.
You could be full of crap like me, and you think, hey, what can he do? He can talk underwater. That's perfect. We'll get him into radio.
This guy's for real. He even sounds like a radio man when he's not on radio.
I don't believe that. Okay,
it's true.
We'll argue over that later. That's all right. But look, it's you find your purpose. Okay, we talk about life purpose, and you find out what actually makes you happy and what makes you smile. Now, in my case, look, my children absolutely made me happy and absolutely made me smile. They were my world, and still are my world. They're just unfortunately sort of out of reach at the moment
in this dimension.
Absolutely, right. Now, so what I've got to do is I've got to focus on other things and find the tools and to put my life forward and bring the gifts that I've got and embrace those so they can be the things that I fill the room with.
Yeah.
Now, for a long time, I refused to fill the room. Okay. Like my children were gone.
Because you wanted to hold on to that, and that's fair enough
too. Yeah. And I also felt incredibly guilty, okay, because I thought that, and every time I got happy, after my children were taken from me, right? Every time I got happy, I got angry at myself for being happy, and I was disappointed in myself, right? So I would deliberately not allow myself to be happy, or I'd sabotage happiness, quite, or whatever level.
That's really good. That's really, really deep, because that took me a lot for actually a client to just about want to punch me in the head, for me to understand that one day she came to me for weight management.
Sure.
And of course we know that underneath, we talked about this a bit last week, but underneath all of the excess kilos is the baggage, right? Of course. So what I actually discovered through conversation is that she'd lost her son. Wow. And it was tragic. He got hit by a car. And it was 20 years ago, and she was with me 20 years later. And so I knew that she had to get rid of that trauma.
Of course.
And so we went through it. And of course, she wasn't au fait with the work that I'm doing. She came to me for the weight management. She
Yeah.
didn't expect it was going to be a therapy session, right? But the following week on her follow-up, she came back and she was really angry with me.
Okay.
And yeah, she was. And she was, and now you just explained it so well. She was angry because she had let go of the pain that was literally suffocating her life with her son.
Yeah, pain and guilt, right?
Mm.
So, like, that's the big thing, the guilt. So, I felt guilty for being happy,
Yep.
and that seems
So did she.
ridiculous. And you're exactly right. I can thoroughly understand that. And so many people I've spoken to have felt exactly the same way. So, all right, well, let's talk about NLP in that regard. Okay, what tools can I tap into in that regard, in that world?
Yeah, the guilt.
Yeah, to get rid of that guilt.
Very good question. That's amazing. Yeah, Napoleon, your new nickname.
Bit of a laugh
Napoleon
there.
Hill. Well, look how learned he became just from constantly talking to people. And I know that's a big thing. But yeah, so what happens next is, what I like to simmer her anger with me down.
Yep.
I had to say to her, would your son want you to be living like that? And she went, no. And it was guilt. So from where that is, what the question is, you're asking the how, which is a real male question.
Yeah.
And this is what the guy yesterday wanted to know as well. He goes,
Okay.
I want to know how you did that. Because, as an engineer type of guy, very scientific, but he loves information.
Yep.
He wanted to know how it worked. And it's about acknowledging the pain.
Okay.
So show me your left hand. Okay, look at it. And I want you to imagine that all the pain is in the left, right? That's all the pain, that's all the sorrow, that's all the anger, that's all the being ripped off, that's all the injustice, right? Okay, just shake that out for a sec.
Right.
Now, this is just an example because I'm better at giving examples than talking it through. Then you've got on the right, pull out your right hand.
Okay.
This is Aaron Malloy at his best. He is impacting lots of people, and it seems to be getting more and more all the time, right?
Yeah.
And there are moments of where you have felt so incredibly loved and connected, and maybe a moment with your children, which there's been. And also there's moments where you felt pretty significant and important. Would you admit that? Like,
yeah, I would.
Even if it's not what you chase, but you have to admit that there's been moments that someone has made you feel important.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, look at the right hand and just acknowledge that. And of course, there's also things that and that you're very certain about. Like, you're certain about what you believe. I know that because that's why you do what you do, right?
No hiding from that one there.
So these are the three powerful resources that you need that can smash anything out of the water. Wow. Love and connection, significance, importance, and certainty. Right?
Okay.
So now with that, if you looked into that and then I got you, so what happens is you get the person to really embrace that power side of themselves.
Okay.
Acknowledging there's a crappy side over here, right? So once they do that, what you're doing is you're getting them to become aware that, hey, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here that I'm not happy with. It's pulling me down, even though, I don't want it to change because I feel guilty if I feel any other way. But this is how it is. And that there's behaviors and all that stuff that go with it. But then you've got to look at how you can actually release it by actually looking at the other side of the coin. As Napoleon Hill says, there's an equivalent seed for every negative, right?
Right.
So what you're doing then is you're equalizing.
Yeah.
You're neutralizing.
Yep.
So you're kind of like taking, this is just like a child kindergarten style of teaching it, but you're taking that left-hand side and you squeeze it, like just squeeze the left. I'll make sure you're okay. So as you squeeze that, that's the junky side, right? and then you let go, and then you squeeze the right hand side. So go ahead and squeeze the other hand now, and that's the power, that's the love, that's the connection, that's the significance. Now what you're doing is you're squeezing them both together. Now as you do that, the brain becomes very confused. Now this is when we do this at the proper extent. So what just happens is the brain's like firing off all these elements, and it's going, well, hang on a minute, because you've got the negative, the positive, and then you've got this coming together. So what we end up doing is gazumping the negative.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do that by, like I was showing this today in a class while I was training. So I was getting everyone on, like, guys, pay attention, right? Because you are taking this out to the world. So you've got to, you can't make a mistake, but it's very important that you know the formula. And that is that for every negative, you bring that positive in and you let that go, right? And you, and yeah.
Okay, and that is a bit different to how I've been doing it, because what I've been doing is I've got the negatives in the hand here and I've been holding on to them, right? And in this hand, I'm going, all right, for every one of those negatives, I have to have a positive. So I'm trying to balance it, right? So I'm doing the whole, well, these positives will cancel them out, but they don't. It's just, you've still got them, right? You've just now got twice as many things in your hands there, right?
Yeah.
So the releasing to me seems to be a big thing. Like, this sounds silly to me, and I hope I convey this the way I want. But when before you asked me to squeeze my hands, right? Okay, I'm doing that. Before you even said it, I felt far more power in my right than I did my left.
Yes.
And that makes no sense to me at all.
No.
It makes none.
No.
So, but I did feel it. Like there was there was a positivity, there was a strength, there was a warmth to it, like physical warmth to this side, right? Now, and then, okay, so then the logical part of my mind says, okay, Aaron, you're feeling that because you're right-handed and therefore, it's a dominant hand. I know this might sound stupid, but, you flex your right arm. I can feel the muscle at the top flex. So, there's a conveyance of strength, okay, which I didn't feel in the left. And then I was trying to sell it to myself, go, well, that's because you're right-handed, Aaron, right? So there, of course, that's going to be stronger.
Yes. But, I do that and I train people like that so they don't forget. Because let's just say you have a client come in, you set that up properly. So for the person yesterday, it's about acknowledging where they've been, what they're going through, and how that's all manifested. But then understanding that there's another part of them too that's great, that's empowering, that's, all of those things. So when you're then doing the left to right from a coaching point of view, he comes back for his next session. I know that side is the left and the right. So if I had have anchored him, for example, let's just say, because you can anchor people. And, this is what the Darren Browns of the comedy world, they do more the sleight of hand and sleight of mouth, and they trick people on the streets with it. And they pick chicks up with it, right? They
using your powers for good rather than evil. I like it. Well done.
But this is the other side of the coin. I mean, therapists and things like me, you might think of it as, oh my gosh, but you got to have a bit of fun with this stuff. But it's all about, knowing that if you've gone up to someone and you've gone, hey, like, what did you do last night? I caught up and I had this great time. And then you go, fantastic, and you just give them a bit of a flick on the right arm, boom, right? And then they go, but you should have seen what happened today. Oh my gosh! And then they start telling you the sob story, and then you go, on the other arm, I'm really sorry to hear that. And then,
so hang on, if you tap them on the right, so if that's the positive side, right?
Yes.
So if you tap them on the positive, then they'll start talking negative.
No. So the whole idea is, you're saying, once you are eliciting, we call it eliciting a state of greatness. So they feel good, they're remembering something great, or they're talking about something great. By you just giving them a tap there, once is not going to be enough. But by giving a little tap there, there's a message that goes from there to the brain. It's a subconscious, right? And then you might go, have you ever been on a skiing trip or jumped out of a plane?
Yes, I
You
have.
know, have you?
Yeah.
And then boom, right? And then you just give them a little tap again.
Right.
And some people are a bit touchy-feely like this. So it
Mhm.
can be done very, non-threatening, like just a little tap on the arm like this. And then, you know what I mean? And then, they might come and see you, a week later
Mhm.
and tell you something terrible. And then obviously that's the left side. That's where you may know. Like in therapy, we would deliberately do that. So
Okay.
you might go, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that," and just give them a gentle little touch on the arm. So as you're doing that, you might just go, "You know what? Everything's going to be all right."
As you're saying this, I'm mentally going through the little playbook in my head of like, oh, hang on, when I've touched someone on the shoulder here or whatever, and then I'm thinking about, hang on, when they've done this to me, is there more to it, right? Okay, are people using these sort of
They
techniques?
don't know.
It's
In
all at a
fact,
subconscious level, right?
because all the students and even
Mm.
my kids who, oh, shut up, mum, don't go on about that stuff, because they have picked up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They even will, like, if they're upset, like if someone's crying or they're really down,
Sure.
and you go and touch them, it's not a good thing to do, because what you're doing is you're anchoring that feeling into them, unless you're doing it in therapy, right? Where
Right.
you are going to go, right, there was that, but hang on, there's this. And you make sure that this is gazumped. But if you are in a situation, actually, it's better not to comfort the person. It's better not to touch them.
Really?
I'm not even joking.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like, it's also making an association, like dogs. You've heard the story of Pavlov dogs where, they ring the bell and they start to salivate because they know that association is with food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you might walk into someone's house and get this kind of sense of an aroma, and it takes
Yeah.
you back to a memory.
Mm-hmm.
These are all associations. So if you are that person there and you're comforting that person all the time, there's an association there. It could be associated with comfort, I guess.
Right.
But it's also anchoring those feelings.
Because when I see someone who's like unhappy, there's a sadness, whatever, I have a compulsion to try and go and soothe that for them.
Of course, you're a man.
It's my job. Come in my white horse. I'll sort this out. Wow. Okay.
He's baffled.
I am.
He's lost for words.
Speechless. It does happen. There we go. Jeez. Document this time right now in history.
Amazing. Yeah. But no, getting back to your original question, it's recoding and rewiring a person. Like when you empty the room and you empty the closet and you okay, so for example, let's just pretend, let's just say, for example, you released every bit of negative emotion from your body just so you could remain healthy.
Right.
But you stayed very logically in your, dignity, in what you feel is right, in your justice, in your, what you believe. Then what would you like to replace? What would you replace within yourself?
Oh, look.
If you got rid of that pain, you know what I mean? Because we're talking about the pain.
I would just like to replace, I can, again, if I'm completely honest with myself, is, okay, since I've experienced that pain, look what you did to me. Look, I'm using my left hand to talk about pain. Oh, wow.
Wow, good on you.
There you go. Oh, we've just lost the camera feed. That can't be good. All right. We've clearly got a little bit of an issue there, so we'll probably have to use
saying
this.
live, but it's gone blank.
Well, it has gone blank. I think it's something highly technical, like a battery. All right. We'll take this opportunity to have a quick little break. We're back in just a tick. It's Edge Radio Australia.
Soon. Wow. Maybe it was meant to be. Think
Oh, look at
quick.
it. It was one of those very high-tech things. Check that out. Well, we're away.
You're
Ve-
good.
We are back. Thank you for those who've had a little patience, little technical problems, but we're on top of it. Well, before I ran off, I was basically saying, like, okay, about filling that room.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I can be very honest and say this: that when, with the pain issues and with the negative things that have happened in my life, what would I like to replace it with? I'd actually really
Very
like
good. Are
to.
you sure you haven't done this before?
I have never done this before.
But you're doing that. You're doing this. You know,
You're
like you've been
Very
fully
good teacher. I mean, obviously, I know. I feel like a George Bush here, right? Okay, the right hand doesn't know what the left is thinking. Boom, boom, right?
It's funny you should say that.
Really? Okay, where I'm going to go on this is that I believe I lost, by losing my children, I lost an ability to love. Right. So to refill the room, okay, once everything's out, okay, I would like to put love back in that room. Okay. And that's not to say that I don't love the people in my life. I have amazing people in my life who I love very, very much.
Yeah.
No question about that. But it's okay. I now have love with reservation, whereas before there was no rules to it, as far as there was no limitation. Okay. I loved completely.
Unconditionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I put a line, right, that I don't cross, which doesn't mean I don't love the people in my life. I do, but now I've put a protection line in there, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to get rid of that. So I would like to go.
It's a barrier, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd like to go back to the time in my life where I could just love.
Limitless.
Yep,
limitless love.
Boom. Completely unconditional. All that sort of thing. I would love that. So
you'd be unstoppable. But can you appreciate though? Because one of the things that we have to do as a NLP practitioner, as a hypnotherapist, is we have got to be on the side of the issue. Okay. Regardless, it doesn't matter whether you are talking, if you're talking to an axe murderer that wants to get rid of something like that, you have got to act as a lawyer, and you've got to literally, like, we're blowing up everything here.
I'll tell you right now. So it wasn't it was not my fault, the technical issue. We've obviously got something going on there. We've gone to black. All right. Well, while we're just recording a black screen, I think this is still important. So let's just say we'll basically wrap this bit up, but continue what you're saying. I think it's important.
Yeah. So really, what's happening? What did I just say?
Well, you were basically we were talking about the limits you put on your love. So you said limitless love. And then you said about being, if you're talking to an ex-murderer, you've got to step aside from it. So I don't know, where do you go from there?
Because you've got to be on the side of it. Actually, you've got to rapport with that, because there's this big defense, because we're not governed by our logic, even though the logic goes, I shouldn't be doing that, but it's like talk to the hand, because quite honestly, the subconscious is running the show. It's running the show. So really, when you can get on board with this, see, really, you have every right. I'm talking to your subconscious, but you have every right, Aaron, to feel the way that you do and to have that barrier, because you have been through some horrendous stuff. Now your subconscious mind's going, yes, she's right.
God damn it.
It's not like someone's like, come on, get over yourself, Aaron. Just get on with it. You've got to forget all that stuff, just what you're talking about. and just, start. It's not going to work.
No.
It's not going to work. So when you understand that there's a very good reason that you haven't been able to love with that total limitless way that you once did, and say, you know what, I really appreciate that. I appreciate that you're looking out for me. I appreciate that you are protecting me because of what happened to you, right? And then the subconscious has gone, okay. And this is where they start talking to each other and saying, well, what if I could show you a different way? Okay. And then, okay, it's a new day now. And that person that you may be wanting to demonstrate, show, or feel more love about, deserves that.
Of course it
And you deserve it as well. So therefore, once you can just really orchestrate and know this is a different day, this is a different time, it's a different life, this is not what's happening back there, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. It
Gotcha.
doesn't know time, it doesn't know right from wrong, doesn't know any of that stuff. It just
Right.
knows that once upon a time that's what happened, and it sure as hell wants to protect you from having that again.
Fair enough. There's a lot to take in there. I might need a quiet moment of my own there. All right, we're going to finish the show right now.
Yeah.
I really want to thank you very much for coming in, and I think that what we'll do is next week we'll jump right into it.
Yeah.
I think we continue where we are because it's a hell of a subject.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Oh yeah, we'll talk about it after the break. It's going to be a break of 7 days, so we'll catch you next week. But we will have a replay of the show audio wise. You can catch on the weekend on Sunday when we reheat the pizza on Sunday after. Well, actually, I'm not sure what time. We have to check the old local guides, but we're repeating the show. I think it might even be 11 a.m. if my memory serves me correctly.
3,
on
is
Sunday.
it the same as last Sunday? Because last Sunday was 3 p.m.
Oh, see, there you go. So you know what's going on. I don't. I barely work here. What are you talking about? All right. But have a look at the Facebook page. That's the best place to find out. And we'll be playing that again for you, the audio, come this Sunday. Have a wonderful, what's left of the week. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch you next week. It is the Genius Zone here on Edge Radio Australia.
Woohoo! That was good.